Among notable wins, we won a large contract for an FTTH deployment in India. We have multi-year contracts for optical fiber cables in Africa, entered into two of the top 4 global cloud companies, and a digital inclusion project from the Telangana government. We reorganized ourselves to an organization structure that places the customer at its center, and that helps us to offer customer-specific solutions, present a single face to customers, as well as create lifetime customer value through co-creation and partnerships. We shall drive more business from our top 20 customers who contribute to more than 70% of our total revenues today. In terms of our execution of our key projects, we are running largely as per schedule. The status of the key projects is as follows. The NFS, which is the Indian Army Intrusion Proof Network, is being completed and it is moving on to O&M stage. Varun, which is the Indian Navy project, is about 76% complete. Mahanet, which is a BharatNet project that we are doing in connecting more than 4,000 Gram Panchayats in Maharashtra, is almost 74% complete. The T-Fiber project, which we acquired earlier this year, is started and it's about 3% completed. And the FTTH rollout order that we got later part of Q4 has just about started right now. And we've been driving these results through a consistent strategic focus on 3 key areas. On key account management, which to drive wallet share with our leading customers, and we are focusing clearly on increasing the opportunity funnel and win ratios in these top accounts. The second focus area is clearly technology-led end-to-end solutions that help us increase the total addressable market of our customers, as we are able to solve larger use case areas for them with better winnability. At the same time, another strong focus area for us is ecosystem partnership and investment, which help us enhance capabilities with M&As as well as organic investment. At the same time, sustainability and governance continues to be an extremely strong pillar for the company, and we remain very committed to this cause. STL has cumulatively touched more than 1.3 million lives through our corporate social responsibility, as well as volunteering initiatives till date. Now, talking something about the COVID-19 situation. As we saw the pandemic unfolding from China, we formed a business continuity team in early February to focus on 4 key priorities while responding to the situation. Our first priority was on employee and ecosystem safety. We were one of the first few companies to advise our employees to work from home. And in line with guidelines, we issued travel advisories, secured physical as well as digital assets, and reviewed health insurance and hospital tie-ups in case of emergency. We have an extremely strong digital capability to ensure virtual collaboration, work over cloud communication, as well as secure data transmission while working from home. The second focus has been on customer commitment fulfillment. And in these times, we are continuously in communication with our customers, and our customers have appreciated our efforts to maintain deliveries, resulting in high uptime of network and maintaining communication with them wherever the deliveries have been impacted. The third focus area for us has been cash flow planning based on scenario analysis. We are clearly maintaining a comfortable balance of cash and cash equivalents. And if the lockdown situation persists longer than anticipated, we have more than sufficient liquidity to manage all our fixed costs as well as cash outflows. And telecoms is part of essential services, and they are continuing. In terms of the fourth focus area for us has been our readiness for a quick restart as the situation is normalizing. All of our plants across the globe are operational. Our network and system integration services are also starting to get operational and are partially operational now. While we have been getting approvals from different districts across the country, challenges remain on the grounds in supply chain as well as customer site readiness. In the nutshell, I can say that even in periods of uncertainty, we remained very true to well-being of our communities. We kept our promises to our customers, and we acted in financial prudence to deliver results to all of our stakeholders. As a socially conscious organization, we are also doing our bit for local communities. We have created Project Savdhan, which is a special initiative to train over 1 lakh youth on COVID-19 awareness through the STL Academy. Our team at Kakinada Smart City is playing an important role in creating awareness and surveillance using digital tools. We have provided 20 ventilators, PPE to more than 5,000 health workers, more than 12 metric tons of disinfectant, and 20,000 safety masks to hospitals. And this effort and initiative continues as we speak. In terms of the business areas in the short term, we believe, and in concurrence with CRU, that we shall see a negative impact on global fiber demand, mostly due to logistics issues, including site access as well as safety concerns. The fiber demand is expected to go down in the first half of the current financial year and is expected to rebound in the second half. And the demand recovery that we are forecasting in 2021 calendar year is expected to be much stronger than earlier anticipated. In the medium term, however, we expect that COVID-19 shall be the inflection point for the data networks industry. Some of the trends and the increased shifts to digitalization and data requirements that we are seeing right now may not be temporary and shall have significant positive impact in driving investments in data network creation. First, we have seen a surge in the internet traffic by 30 to 40%, which has led to decrease in download speed because the networks are running very close to their capacity, and at several places globally they were choked. The reason that the internet is able to handle the surge in traffic is because the network is designed by taking into account the increase in data demand, and there is always a buffer. As of now, all the buffer is being absorbed, and the network provider shall have to invest to augment the network and create the capacities that the network is now demanding. Second, we have seen a surge in the cloud demand, especially from the enterprise segment. This is because more and more employees are working outside of office. You would have heard that TCS has talked about by 2025, more than 75% of its employees will be working from outside their offices. With more employees operating outside the offices, with more amount of work in cloud, and with more amount of collaboration over digital tools, more workloads are getting migrated to the cloud to ensure that work can be completed. Also, as more and more enterprise applications are moving to cloud, they also demand a very low latency from the network and a very fast response time. The networks are responding to this requirement by having edge data centers and moving closer to customers. Also, another shift which has happened is that the data usage, which earlier used to be asymmetric, that is, earlier it was focused towards downloads, is becoming symmetric. And a lot of the user traffic is both upstream as well as downstream. The last trend that we are seeing is that data traffic has shifted to residential and alternate localities. We are seeing a lot of companies changing their business models for good and asking employees to work from home. This shall mean that the homes will also have good internet connection for official reasons, and we feel that they shall push fiber to home penetration. In terms of 5G and the investment, what we see now that mobile 5G is now commercially available from 46 operators across 24 markets globally. And it is also estimated that by 2025, 20% of all connections will be on 5G. The current 5G subscriber base in China, as reported by two of its largest carriers, China Mobile and China Telecom, is almost 48 million subscribers at the end of March 2020. we believe that operators will invest almost $1.1 trillion in their network globally in the next 5 years, and a significant amount of this focus will be on 5G. However, in terms of pace of 5G deployment, large operators shall continue to spend, while smaller ones will focus on augmenting the capacity of their existing networks. When coming to non-telco customers, we are seeing that the current shift towards digitization is pulling the investment forward in the data network. The UK government, for instance, has recently announced that the $6.5 billion investment in creating gigabit-capable broadband. We are also seeing the cloud companies increasing their investment, seeing the massive surge in the demand. And the hyperscale capex is expected to grow at 8 to 9% every year in the next 3 years, from about $114 billion in 2019. In the anticipation of this kind of a demand by cloud segment, our acquisition of IDS in Europe and our capability towards building data center interconnects augurs well for us. At the same time, enterprises are also pulling forward their investments in the new age data networks because of their increased reliability and speed. And the investment of Facebook in RGO will definitely accelerate the fiber to the small enterprise connectivity, as RGO aims to enable small businesses, including Kirana stores all across India. Talking something about the future and why we believe it's more exciting, the investment by our customers is leading to the creation of new age data networks that are fundamentally different from previous generation of data networks. These are driven by 3 key trends. One, the first trend is we see significant network creation by telcos driven by data growth, and this will drive dense and deep fiber networks with multiple endpoints as well as low latency. The second trend that we see, that other than telcos, we are seeing large-scale network creation by non-telcos. Cloud companies are driving hype.
I think Anand has dropped. I can take it forward from here. This is Anupam Jindal. Until Anand joins back, I can carry on. So what Anand was saying, I'll take it from there on the same slide 19. So apart from telcos, we are seeing large-scale network creation by non-telcos, cloud companies, who are driving hyperscale and edge data centers. Government and private enterprises are building campus connectivity, intelligent mobility, data centers, IoT, Industry 4.0, smart grid, e-health, etc. And fiber infra companies and DC co-location companies are also emerging with new network use cases. We are also seeing the emergence of open source software that is disaggregated from OEM hardware and virtualized for centralized control. These innovations are enabling the entry of new players like us to drive the next generation of data networks.
Yeah, Anupam, I can take over from here.
Sure.
So STL has been reorganizing itself to make the most of these trends and opportunities. And we have been working on the use cases for our 4 customer segments. with the power of our portfolio of 4 offerings and towards developing 4 end-to-end solutions for our customers. These 4 solutions, which are our go-to-market approaches, bring together an integrated approach to solve customer problem statements as a whole. For instance, our first solution, which is an optical connectivity solution, this is across network topologies. We offer comprehensive optical connective solutions. This includes our entire optical product suite design with optical fibers, cables, optical interconnects, as well as logistic solutions, all designed to work together as a combined offering for our customers. The second end-to-end solution is the fiber deployment solution. As what we are seeing as networks are expanding in scale across core, mobile, home, and rural networks, our fiber deployment solutions called Lead 360 helps customer design large-scale networks and drive fiber rollout all the way to activation and management. These solutions use lean, agile approvals, everything surveys, our STL Academy trained professionals, design-led planning, and 360 operations management. The third end-to-end solution that we are offering to our customers is the FTTX access network solution. FTTX networks are driving higher scale through fiber deployment, but they go beyond scale to low latency and agile network management. Our FTTX Mantra solution designs for scale, latency, and agility with network rollout and activation is enabled by software-driven programmability as well as orchestration. And our fourth end-to-end solution is the network modernization solution, which is for end-to-end enterprise networks that are looking to fully upgrade their networks and data centers. This includes comprehensive network design for future readiness and goes in all aspects of network compute and security. And an example of this network modernization solution is what we are doing for the Indian Navy in the Varun project. Just to give you an example of a STL solution, a typical problem statement for our customer is to connect fiber to the premises in the least time at the lowest cost with a long network life and delivering data at high speeds regardless of accessibility issues. With our FTTX Mantra, we design the solution based on customer use cases by combining offerings from some or all of our portfolio capabilities to bring together an end-to-end solution. So across our 4 end-to-end solutions, we are delivering results for our customers. For our optical connectivity solutions, we helped a French telecom major to install a nationwide coverage of the last mile fiber network in a short span of 2 years. For our fiber deployment solution, we have connected over 4,000 villages in Maharashtra, the Mahanet solution, at a speed that is twice of what was the previous benchmark. Our FTTX Mantra solutions are designed for massive network transformation, and we have been doing that for one of the leading telcos in India. And our all-encompassing network modernization solution has helped the Indian Navy's Project Varun design with 12 large data centers, 1,500 sites, including remote islands with 44 network locations and 33,000 network elements to modernize the entire network. The collective power of these integrated end-to-end solutions is what is helping STL generate tremendous value for our customers and helping us increase our total addressable market. With these strategic shifts, our focus is to become the default partners of our customers for all their data and IT networking requirements with our unique integrated end-to-end solution. Now I hand over the call to Anupam to discuss the financials.
Thanks, Anand, and good afternoon to everyone again. Coming to financials, we are starting the year with a stable order book of rupees 10,037 crores. Our order book is well diversified in all of our customer segments. We are also having a significant O&M order book, while which shall start to yield significant revenue stream from FY23 onwards. We have a spread of order book in FY21 to the tune of approximately 4,000 crore rupees. Also on the top of it, we have RFQ participation funnel at about 8,500 crore rupees, which shall generate a significant order flow in FY21 as well. This slide shows our annual results in terms of revenue at rupees 5,154 crore, EBITDA at rupees 1,104 crore, and profit after tax at rupees 472 crore, and ROCE at 22%. Through our E2E solution, end-to-end solution approach, we shall focus on industry-leading growth and absolute EBITDA to improve return on capital employed. We are also focusing on deferring capex for optical cable for about 6 to 9 months. We shall continue to work on improving our cost position as one of the key strategic levers to improve the operating margins. We are targeting to reduce manufacturing costs and fixed costs in this regard. We are also working to improve on our interest costs. Coming to the quarterly performance, our revenue stands at rupees 1,160 crore, EBITDA at rupees 226 crore, PAT at rupees 80 crore. We estimate the negative financial impact of COVID-19 on revenue is about 170 crore. Consistent to our dividend policy, the board has recommended final dividend of 175% at rupees 3.5 per share, subject to shareholders' approval. Our net debt stands at rupees 1,970 crore. Our cash and cash equivalent stands at rupees 478 crore as on 31st March 2020, which reflects our preparedness for the current uncertain times. Also in the current year FY20, we have also been able to generate positive cash flow of about 100 crore. For your reference, we have captured an abridged version of our financials for your perusal. Coming to buyback, we announced the buyback on 24th of March to seek fair value of our stock price and improve shareholders' return. The maximum buyback size is rupees 145 crore and maximum price is rupees 150 per share. The buyback is going through an open market route and the promoters are not participating in it. We have sufficient liquidity to support the buyback. We are extremely bullish on our business and we feel that we shall come out very strongly from here. In the summary, we would like to say that STL, with its focus on key account management, technology-led end-to-end solutions, ecosystem partnerships, and investment has led to growth in FY20 when the industry has seen a decline. COVID-19 is an inflection point for the data networks industry and it shall accelerate our society's digital transition. STL, with its optical connectivity solution, fiber deployment solution, fiber to the home, fiber to the access network solution, and network modernization solution is ready to take advantage of the mega opportunity of future network creation. With this, we come to the end of our opening commentary and we would be open to questions.
Sure, thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask questions may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask questions, please press star and 1. We take the first question from the line of Mukul Garg from Haitong Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks, and I hope the whole Sterlite family is safe and secure in these uncertain times. Anand, just to start with, on the Q4 numbers, and I'm sure you would have also felt them a little bit below your, what you guys could have achieved. Can you just help us understand if you exclude the 170 crore impact from the lockdown, on top line. What are the other reasons for the weakness? Was this on expected range? Excluding this, your revenues dropped almost 25% from the Q4 of FY19.
Yeah, sure, Mukul. Yeah, thanks for your concern, and I hope and wish everyone safe at your end too. In Q4 of last year that you're comparing, we had mentioned that was a quarter where we had the initial sales and revenues from the Navy project. That was the first year, and that was the first quarter of a peak of Navy supplies that we had during Q4 of last year. But notwithstanding that, if we see quarter on quarter, it would have been the revenues without the impact would have been closer to 1350 odd crores, which is where our expectation was at the beginning of the quarter.
Got it. But generally, and that's more, I think, suitable for the the public sector orders. Generally, Q4 tend to be a seasonally large quarter. And again, like if I look at the Indian Navy progress, it's only up 10% from Q3. So were these orders also impacted due to the lockdown, and how are you seeing their progress as we move forward in Q1?
Yeah, so in Q4 we did have some impact as mostly during the last couple of weeks, especially for these projects. In Q1, out of we have various projects working in almost 45 to 50 areas within the country, and some of these areas are in green zones and they've started operation, but we believe it will take next few weeks or so to get our projects working fully in tandem. Because some of the projects are also in red zone, some are in the Navy, within the Navy premises. So I won't take Q1 as in terms of recovering back on the project level. While we are seeing the plant operations have restarted, on the project ones we are taking a bit longer, and Q1 will be in us getting us back to that normal levels.
Got it. And I have a few quick ones for Anupam, if that's fine. Anupam, just to start with, can you share the data on the fiber pricing and the utilization levels during last quarter on both fiber and cable?
I think from realization perspective, Mukul, as we had communicated, while the realizations have broadly remained range bound, closer to what we had in Q3. As far as the utilization is concerned, we had some improvement over Q3. We were closer to 80%, 85% of the overall capacity before expansion. And more what we are doing, Mukul, that as more and more offerings are becoming integrated, we are finding that to the same customers, we are able to give product as a service, product as the integrated offering. And the realization is becoming less and less relevant. We are shifting our business model to integrated offering so that we can actually shift from the realization impact which we are seeing in this industry.
Got it. And on the balance sheet side, quick one, the directional move in account receivables and payables, were in opposite direction, with account receivables, moving up, on a YOY basis. Is that something which is happening because of the order on the public sector side, or there is nothing unusual in there? And also, if you can just help us give a breakup on the other financial liabilities, what portion of that is in the current maturity of long-term borrowings?
Yep. So in terms of debtors, while we don't see anything unusual, these are in general line. We have seen slight stretch in the working capital I would say to a large extent towards the year end because of COVID-19 situation. Last 2 weeks or so, we practically didn't have much of collection coming in while we had some progress, but that caused some of the impact in this. In general, we saw some increase in working capital cycle as we had also seen in the previous quarters, but broadly, there's nothing unusual. As far as the financial liabilities are concerned, there is about 250 crore of amount which is towards current liabilities in that, and which is included in the net debt position which we have shown.
Understood. I have a few other questions, but I think I will get into the queue. Thanks for answering my questions.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nirav Dalal from Maybank Kim Eng. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity. I had a question on the optical fiber demand and how are you seeing it in the current scenario? So how would you see it in first quarter, and how should it move going ahead? As most international markets are still under lockdown, so I wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, Nirav, what we are essentially seeing we are essentially seeing a higher degree of discussions for network strengthening from a lot of our customers globally. So while customers are under lockdown, we have seen them expediting and accelerating their network capacity increases. You may have seen the British Telecom, which came out with its results day before, 3 days ago on Friday. They are talking about expediting their network capacity and their network investment from 7-year project to less than 3-year project. So what we are seeing is a very high degree of engagement in terms of people expediting their projects and a high degree of involvement towards more RFQs. In terms of Q1 numbers, we are as we talked about, we are currently operating at about 60-65% of pre-COVID sort of levels. And Q1, the focus has been more till date on meeting urgent demands towards O&M, meeting urgent demands towards network modernization, and during the first few days was towards shipping everything that was due in the last couple of weeks of March. So I won't go by quarterly demand. Q1 will be challenging like for everyone else in the world. But H2 of this year onwards, it looks pretty promising for us.
Right. And just in terms of for Anupam, we have a CWIP of about 132 crores, 133 crores. What do you think would be the capex for the current year?
So basically, we are looking at all the commitments and capex programs which we had done, and we are optimizing that, recalibrating as we commented in the initial commentary that some of the ongoing capex on cable side particularly, we are having it in pause, and we will restart that maybe in 6 to 9 months. With this, we are looking at overall capex outflow to be of about 500 odd crore. Which is largely for the capex done on fiber side, which was completed last year.
So a part of, so for FY22, our
FY21.
FY21, our capex would be about 500 crores.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Got that. Thank you. I'll get back to the queue.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. From your slide number 27, where you have put out the order book spread, this 4,000 crore of order book spread for FY21, does it largely includes the service or the project execution? It also generally includes the fiber deliveries also, or a cable delivery part also in this 4,000 crore?
So it includes both. So broad order book breakup is about 4,000 crores of projects, about 4,000 crore of fiber and cable, and about 2,000 crores of O&M. So the 4,000 that we have for FY21 includes both.
Everything. Okay. My second question is on the net debt side. So what should be the net debt likely next year in FY22 post the execution that you do and the capex that you spend for FY21?
Yeah,
Yeah, so the focus will be towards net debt, total net debt reduction, and as Anupam said, the capex part, since we have postponed the cable capex, the cash flows we will continue to review throughout the next few months, and the focus will be for us in totality to look at both debt equity ratio below 1 and seeing that the net debt numbers are put at close to current levels as well.
Okay. And on the execution that flowed in Q3 and Q4, does the lower prices on fiber now are a part of your margins, what we see in Q3, Q4, or your EBITDA, what we see in Q3, Q4, or they're yet to flow in terms of lower prices?
As we have been maintaining our bare fiber sales, just where we sell fiber only to customers, is a very small percentage of our total revenue. It's less than 9-10%, and that's why when we say that the fiber numbers have come closer to $6 or so, it does not impact the company in terms of its total revenues or EBITDA to that extent what it used to do 3-4 years ago. So whatever we are seeing, the margins are a reflection of the current business. The margin ratios are shifting based on as we move more and more towards from selling components towards selling solutions.
Okay. And lastly, sir, what would be the execution or the utilization of your assets in FY20 on fiber and cable? Annual utilization of assets?
Annual on fiber, yeah, fiber side, if we see at 50 million run rate, it would be close to 60% or so. Very close, similar to what we did in FY19.
So basically,
cable
100%.
side, I think we were.
So it's 100% on the non-expanded side, right? 30 million FKM, it's 100%.
Yeah, it will be slightly lesser. I think we did last year also we did 27, 28. It would be something like that. Yeah. So on a non-expanded side, it will be almost 90-95%.
And on cable?
On the cable side of 18 million, I think we did between 80-85%.
This is also non-expanded, right?
Yeah, cable we have not expanded, and that's the capex that we are deferring.
In the expanded capacity from 30 to whatever first phase that you have expanded in fiber, the costs associated with those capacities have started flowing in the second half of FY20 that we see, right? In terms of OPEX or
That's right.
depreciation or... Okay.
We've done the full expansion there. So 30 to 50 has fully happened. So the depreciation, etc., is for the full capacity.
So then what explains the 500 crore capex next year towards fiber again?
500 crore is the total capex, and some of the cash flows are deferred in terms of how we do supplier agreements as well as what goes post commissioning. A significant part of the structure is with post commissioning areas. And 500 is not fully for fiber. 500 is for capex that we are planning to incur. As we shift the cable part, some part of the capex will also shift outwards from 21 to 22.
No, actually, I didn't understand. Initially, you said that the cable capex is postponed by whatever 6-8 months. So I am assuming that cable capex is now next year. You are spending 500 crores, which is on maybe a part on maintenance capex, and part would be on this 30 to 50 fiber, right? That's how you're putting.
So right now it includes all the three. It includes sustainable capex, it includes the fiber capex, and it includes some amount of spending that we would do for the cable also, because 6 to 9 months means fully by March 21. So that's what we have included it on all in totality. The cable part of the capex we will keep reviewing over the next few weeks and months, and as that differs, the 500 number might change.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vipul Kanoria from BlackRock. Please go ahead.
Hi. Yeah. So, can you outline on the debt issuance plans for FY 2021, and do you plan to issue any dollar-denominated debt? And the second and the last question, are you planning to bring in any strategic partners on board, given the renowned interest of global investors in Indian tech and telecom sector?
On the debt side, currently there isn't any plan of adding any dollar-denominated debt, at least in consideration. All our both receivables and as well as payables, we convert it and hedge it fully to rupees. So we don't, at least currently, there is no plan. And on the same also on the strategic side, in terms of getting any investor on board, nothing on plan right now.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harshit Patel from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. Sir, the first one would be a bookkeeping question. Could you give a revenue breakup between products and services in the last quarter?
Harshit, we are increasingly moving towards, I look at it in a traditional way, it might be of the order of 60-40, but now it's getting all integrated. Most of our service offerings are coming along with end-to-end solutions. So it would be of the order of 60-40, 60%, 40%. But increasingly our offering is now becoming integrated solutions.
Right, sir. Understood. And sir, the second one would be on the T-Fiber project with the Telangana government. So sir, could you tell us the size of the project and how much will it take to execute it fully?
I think the size of the project is about 1,500 crores or of that magnitude, and it will be executed largely within FY 21 and partly in FY 22.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That would be all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rushabh Chittor from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. So just a quick question. Sorry, I missed out the number which you shared on the product and services revenue breakup and the margins in this business for the quarter.
Yeah, so Rishabh, what I was mentioning is that more and more of our total sales is now going in as solutions where products are an integral part of services.
Okay.
Over the whole year, if we look at it in the traditional way we looked at it, about 52% went off as just pure play services, and 48% went on in terms of the products either sold directly to the customers or embedded within the services itself.
Okay, sure. And would it be possible to share the margin also for this?
The margin portfolio has been largely similar, I think close to about 24% for the products and about 14 to 14 odd % for the services.
Okay. Thanks. And so I just wanted some more clarity. We've mentioned that the capex for FY21 is going to be 500 odd crores. So will it be possible to break up this capex in terms of what is going towards fiber and what is going towards cable?
Yeah, I think about 225 to 250 crores, about 15 odd % is spending from the fiber side. So 225 to 250 crores was for fiber. About 50-60 crores is sustainable, and about maybe close to 200 crores is about cable. Very ballpark sort of number.
Okay. Fair enough. And so I just want to know a question. In last year, we incurred a capex of 421 odd crores. So I just wanted to understand in terms of what went towards fiber and how much capacity were we able to create from this capex that went towards fiber?
We have been spending in a structured form on the fiber. The fiber total investment is about 1,500 crores, and that spending is what we spent in last year was largely towards the fiber expansion. The expansion of 15 to 50 million is over, and the cash flow is happening over a deferred period of time.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Alok Deora from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Sir, most of the questions have been answered. Just a couple of questions I had. One was on the order book front, where you have given the breakup of what would sort of come in FY21 and FY22. So it's just around 4,000 crore which is showing up in FY21. So does that mean that the balance orders of around 6,000 crore would only start contributing in FY22? How should we read that number?
Yeah, I mean, of the orders that we have started the year of about 10,000 crores, 4,000 will get executed in FY21 and 6,000 will carry over from next year. At the same time, during this year, we will book more orders, and part of those will be used for revenues during the current year.
Right. So right now, say if we are executing around 4,000 crores, so that comes into revenue in FY21. And so if we win, say, around 1,500 or 2,000 crore worth of order in the first half, then that will contribute to the revenue. So what kind of growth rate then we are looking at for FY21? Because we have done around 5,000 odd crore in FY20, and so any number on FY21 growth or any revenue number on that?
Look, I mean, normally don't give out guidance, and especially in the current year, looking at how the situation is. As we said, Q1 is going to be low. We believe that H2 will be a good half based on both the visibility on orders, engagements, RFQs that we have. So maybe when we meet next quarter, we would have a much better visibility on H2 growth. So, right now, I would not want to give FY21 growth number.
Sure. And just one question on the revenue mix. While you mentioned that it's becoming more integrated, and however, you gave some number as far as the Q4 mix is concerned of products and services. What would the same number be for the full year of FY20? If you can just give a broad number on that.
Yeah, the full year, as I said, the number is about 52% in services, the way we used to look at earlier, and 48% for the products. Okay.
And just one last question. This 8,500 crore RFQ which you mentioned, so that's largely towards the services, or it's towards the products, or how is the mix like? If you can just broadly indicate that.
Again, most of the new RFQs that we are participating in is an integrated solution. Even when we are doing just products, it's a product mix as a full solution. So more and more of our offerings are being in form of the 4 solutions that we highlighted during the presentation. So it includes for the current year as well as multiple years moving forward.
Okay. Just one last question, if I may. So you mentioned about the margin profile of around 24% in products and around 14% in services. So when we mention integrated solutions, then should we consider around 18-19% sort of blended margin profile?
Yeah, it's something like that. It will be closer towards 18 odd %.
All right. That's all from my side. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ravi Mehta from Deep Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Most of the questions are answered. Just one small clarification. When 20-25% of the order book is O&M, which usually staggers over a period of 5 to 7 years, then was just getting a sense that the expected top line, what you shared on the presentation, it can't be 4 and 6, right? So can you highlight that?
No, we are not talking about top lines, Ravi. We just gave a color on the order book timelines of execution for the. You are absolutely right that the O&M part will actually start kicking in from largely from some part of will kick in FY21, but largely it will be from FY22 and 23 onwards. So about 4,000 crores of the 10,000 crores will get executed in FY21. About the other 4 will get largely executed within FY22. The other 2,000 crores will go over a period of 7 to 8 years. And this is just to provide a perspective that we are now starting to have a sizable O&M revenue chunk, which kind of starts creating an annuity sort of a cash flow over the next 8-10 years.
Since we started with this service segment a while back, so there is no O&M at the moment in our numbers?
No, the NSS project, as you said, has just moved into O&M, so it's not significant. FY21 would have some numbers, and 22 onwards it starts becoming more and more relevant.
Okay. And any color on what it could be in 21 or 22?
Typically, I mean, you can take it's about 3% of the overall capex size of the combined capex. So FY22 by that time, if we would have done close to 6 to 7,000 crores, it could be of the order of 200 crores.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manav Madan from ICICI Bank. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Mr. Manav, we can barely hear you. Request you to use the handset.
Am I audible now?
Mr. Manav, your voice is very faint.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Congratulations on a good set of numbers. My questions have been answered. I just wanted your comments on the ROC. While we know that since services mix is increasing, so ROC was supposed to be low, but 22%, is that a sustainable number going forward? That's it from my side.
So,
Yeah. So in terms of the ROC, we believe that as we start getting more utilization of the capacity, particularly from second half onwards, and we see more of revenue coming in, we believe that ROC can improve. But yeah, from our perspective, 20-22% is definitely sustainable.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shikha Mehta from Equitree Capital. Please go ahead.
So I just have a couple of questions. The 4,000 crore that we've spoken about in FY21, could you give a breakup of product and service for that?
Shikha, we have converted all the way we look at the businesses in the integrated solutions offering. We are just not neither looking at it nor calculating the numbers anymore like that.
All right. So what percentage of the order book would be coming from the government?
I think Bharat, the only order book from BharatNet, etc., would be the Telangana, etc. Close to about 20% would be the BharatNet kind of project.
And what kind of payment cycles do we have when it comes to the government? Like what's the working capital?
So, Shikha, I can address that. Broadly, we have not from the government, but overall in the services business, overall we have a net working capital of about 120 days. And broadly across the spectrum of the customers, we are seeing that we are able to broadly manage this. This is by design. We are seeing that between 100 to 120 days of working capital, net working capital we need to manage. And broadly, we are able to move in that direction. So we are not really differentiating between customer to customer. As far as even the government or the public enterprises are also concerned, we have been able to do the work and collect money on reasonable time.
Right. And so could you give some update on 5G? Because I think the auction is also going to be getting delayed. So what is our view on that?
So our focus, Shikha, is that India currently requires even the 4G overall outlay to be strengthened. Only about 30% of the towers are connected with fiber, and they are on. We believe the focus that we are seeing from most of the Indian ecosystem is towards strengthening the 4G, leveraging the spectrum that they have. And 5G is not, nobody is in a hurry, at least in the Indian ecosystem, to do 5G. So the focus areas are from the incumbent telcos is towards 4G strengthening, as well as fiber to the home and enterprise. And from the government side is focused more and more towards rural broadband. So real 5G in some terms of some investments will happen only in 2022 calendar from our estimate.
All right, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take that as the last question. I would now like to hand the conference back to the management team for closing comments.
Sure. So I would like to thank everyone for attending this call and for showing interest in our company. And I hope that we were able to address and clarify all your queries and comments. For any further questions and discussions, you can feel free to contact our investor relations team, which includes myself and Anupam, and we really look forward to continuing the conversations with you in the future. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Sterlite Technologies Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. You may now disconnect your lines.